So on to something a little different. ADA accessibility. I want to do a discussion about this because it's something that affects millions of people. We take for granted that we can walk, that we have arms, hands, to lift a fork, to feed our face, and, go down the street to buy a bottle of soda or a cup of coffee. And then, we don't take into account these people, these folks that are in wheelchairs or people who are completely blind. That I've seen some crazy installation of doors to businesses, making accessibility for people in wheelchairs specifically difficult. You never know when the day could come when it could be me or you in a wheelchair, saying, Jesus Christ, they install a door backwards, so it opens the wrong way, making the poor person in the wheelchair having to back all the way up into a corner, cringed, just to get the door open so that the person can go inside of a McDonald's or whatever, or where they have the accessibility ramp in the midst of a lot of traffic. The logic in the design of some of these accessibility ramps and entrances and things are completely asinine. They're completely asinine. What compels me to do a video like this is just observation. General observation, and I come from a background where I was exposed to disabilities. Mine is visual limitation. I'm not completely blind, but I am visually impaired. 5 out of 6 of my brothers and sisters had the same condition. It's congenital. So we weren't faced with those challenges, but still, I guess, being considered, quote-unquote, disabled in some form, it makes you take notice, I've never been a person to judge somebody because they're in a wheelchair, undersell them because they're in a wheelchair. You don't know what gifts or abilities a person has until you get to know the person and give the person a chance, We just, the first thing we see, or that many people notice, is the wheelchair, not even the person sitting in it, whether it is a man or a woman, white or black. It could be a doctor in that wheelchair. It could be a famous artist. But the first thing people notice is the wheelchair. And it's a prejudice, We see the wheelchair, we assume somebody needy, dependent, self-pity, all this kind of stuff, and when in fact it's furthest from the truth. I find it important, I do a lot of videos talking about my own life experience or just what my own beliefs are and this and that. This is something more broader. It makes people think outside the box, We take for granted what we have and the things that we don't have, that, no, I'm not disabled. No, I'm not in a wheelchair. No, I'm not going through this. So therefore, how could I ever understand? But the day could come, where you're out and about, or I'm out and about, get into a car accident and lose your legs, or lose my legs. And be that person, being faced with those challenges, those burdens, those judgments, prejudgments. And I would be so unappreciative. People, when I was growing up, the thing I dealt with in school because of my vision was the uncontrolled movement of the eyes. It's horizontal nystagmus. And there was a prejudgment that came with that. Got into a few fights because of that. Kicked a few asses because of it. And many people would say, bravo to you for doing so, because how cruel of them. Kids could be cruel, But the point I'm making is, until you walk somebody else's shoes, have no right to judge. Until you know all the facts, you have no right to judge. And especially with somebody in a wheelchair. I've met a lot of people, and many of them who were born that way said, I've heard many people say, I'm sorry for your condition. And they told me, why? I've lived like this my entire life. I'm used to this. I've dealt with this my entire life. And I'm grateful for the things that I do have. These are the things that I can do, and if I need help, I ask, I'm not out looking for pity. And you gotta respect, But people undersell each other. We prejudge anybody that is different from what we know. And that is prejudice. It is discriminatory, We put discrimination into a box thinking, it's just about against the African American or, the race thing. Well, no. There's a lot of populations that are minority, transgender, gay communities, homeless, addicts, alcoholics. Everybody gets put in these boxes outside of just disabled and race. So, but having more accessibility for people who are disabled is an important thing. And a lot of businesses really don't have the accessibility, not figuring that maybe, their revenue could increase if they just maybe invested a few more dollars